invasive species can take over certain environments. Mr. Miller actually worked really hard out in his forested property to help control and eliminate this. Why do we want to control invasive species? Why do we care about invasive species?
Because it can kill other plants.
Yeah, so this is actually a buckthorn tree, and if it's not managed or controlled, eventually all these trees, most of them may live for, that one's really old, but some of them may live to be 100 years old, maybe 80 years old, but eventually if all we have left, if none of those tree species regenerate and all we have left are invasive species like buckthorn, we'll have a monoculture in the forest. You know what monoculture means?
There won't be any nutrients.
It'll be, basically one species takes over and you don't have regeneration of the other trees. And when you lose certain species, whether it's plants or animals, there's that food web, right? And usually one species relies on another one. So it's important to help manage these species so we don't end up with just a monoculture environment.
Right.
So I always say just because it's green doesn't mean it's always good, because this one can be a problem if it's not taken care of in your woods.
All right, here I'm holding two plants. Do you think they're the same or different?
Different.
Different. Why?
One is shorter and the other is taller.
Yep, one is shorter, one is taller. One species that likes to grow in wetlands are sedges and rushes. One thing you can remember with sedges, their stem has edges. So if you want to feel this between your fingers, you can feel the edges of the stem. So now, this is a grass. This is reed canary grass. It's also common in wetland areas. Some people consider it an invasive. It can take over an area too. But if you feel the stem between your fingers, it's round. So that means it's a grass.
This is another one here too. Does anybody know what this is?
It looks like a pine tree.
It could be known as nature's Velcro.
It's bed straw.
Wow.
Bed straw. They used to use it to stuff mattresses with it, but it has little hooks on there. Here, hold still. I'll just put it on you, and it sticks right. It sticks right to your shirt.
It does?
Yep.
Not mine. Oh,
no. I don't know if it'll stick on that. Oh, yep. See, you kind of feel it. It grabs right on there.
Okay, over here we actually have a living fossil. Has anyone seen what these are? Know what this is? This is called horsetail. And it grows in wetland areas.
Let's see the back of the sheet here.
It's not sticky. It's actually a living fossil. It was around when the dinosaurs were. And it actually spreads by spores, similar to how mushrooms and fungus.
London, Alexis.
So we're going to go back to the milkweed for a second. Somebody said the monarchs lay their eggs on that plant. That's the only plant that the monarchs lay their eggs on. So if we didn't have any milkweed, what do you think would happen to the monarchs?
They'd all die.
Yeah. So it's important when we're talking about native habitats, native species versus invasive species, and managing the environment. It's important that we have diversity. And we have these in different environments. So we have uplands and wetlands and stuff like that. It's because they play together in the habitats. All the different species and the different habitats, the different environments are important to different plants and animals. So, does anybody know what this plant is?
Leaf. Giant leaf. It's a leaf, but
It's not a fern. It's
giant fern.
It's got a certain smell to it. What was that?
Skunk lettuce. Skunk cabbage.
Skunk cabbage. Does anybody want to smell it?
Me. Don't.
Take a good smell.
Oh.
Here, we'll pass. You can pass that around.
Chicken.
Everybody would agree that this has smells like a skunk, right? Why do you think it smells like a skunk?
Because so other animals don't eat it.
Yeah, it's an adaptation of the plant, so other animals don't eat it. Why else do you think it may smell?
Hands will not stink. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they lay on it.
It actually smells so to attract insects, and the insects pollinate the plant. So not only does it try to keep animals away from eating the skunk cabbage, but it tries to encourage insects to come to the plant for pollination. Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about plants, there's a lot of plants that are specific to wetlands, and the skunk cabbage is one where you're going to see. If you see, it's a daddy long legs. If you see skunk cabbage, it's going to be in a wetland environment. So, whereas like milkweed, that may grow in non-wetland areas. This one I don't want to touch. See, I told you, it's not poison ivy. It is stinging nettle. Has anybody ever run into stinging nettle before?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, what happened? What happened when you got stinging nettle on you?
It stings.
Yeah, it's kind of burning. People call it burning nettle. It's got these serrated leaves on there, and it's got like little spines, and those spines, if they brush up your skin, it irritates it. But if you ever run into stinging nettle, this next plant can actually help you out. Do you guys know what this is?
No.
No, it's not poison ivy.
There's a spider right there.
It's called jewelweed. It's pretty easy to recognize just because of the alternating leaves. And if you look here, it's growing all over the ground. And this is another plant like skunk cabbage that grows in wetland type hydric soils. So if you brush up against stinging nettle and you're in a wetter area, there's probably jewelweed on the ground if you look around, and you can take the jewelweed and you kind of smash it and rub it on that one area where it's stinging, and it'll actually help take the sting away. So they use it for bee bites and stuff like that too. So it's a pretty cool plant.
Oh man.
Here's another plant that you're going to find in the wetland areas. There's not a lot of these around, so we're not going to pick it, but it's got like a kidney-shaped leaf. It's a native wetland plant. It has yellow flowers on it, and they call it Marsh Marigold. So some of the plants this year are a little late because it's been a little cooler.
Daddy long one.
So we don't have, some of the flowers aren't out yet, but some of these you'd see flowering. So
Hey, he just fell. Watch out.
that's Jack in the pulpit. Yeah. Yep.
I got putty on you.
That's most of the plants.
Where's Daddy's short legs? Zach and right there. It's lying on the ground.
See the stem?
What does the stem look like?
Celery. There's a daddy long.
Yeah, but look at the shape.
Look at this daddy long one right here.
Yeah. What did we say is a triangular stem?
I only have
It has edges.
Sedges have edges.
That's a sedge. And this is actually
right there.
the seed head on here. So all these plants have to reproduce. They all reproduce in different ways, but one of the ways that the sedges, no, it's soft. One of the ways that the sedges reproduce is dispersing the seed.